supported by the Mercer County Improvement Authority, which is responsible for the process. The district's financial advisor has estimated a rate on current market conditions and determined a term of 10 years. At this rate will generate funds to cover the $11.7 million local share on the preschool project and the estimated $10 million cost of the two pool conversions with no increased tax levy. The board is well aware of this, that this prediction could change, and it can make a different decision moving forward if it were to change. Question came up, isn't it cheaper to decentralize this project over some of or all of the elementary schools? And the answer is no. The cost would increase substantially because site development costs will be incurred at every school, not just Robinson. Increased construction sites mean more cost per classroom. Existing shared common spaces, cafeteriums, libraries, etc., will be attached, will be stretched to capacity and used more than they are now. Currently, space in common areas is near capacity for lunch, gym, related arts, and school activities. The elementary schools would not have enough small group instruction space for student learning and related services. A number of elementary schools do not have space for additions, and those that do, adding 2 to 5 additional classrooms on a building with limited property will consume a larger percentage of green space than proposed for the Robinson addition. Additionally, classrooms will require additional parking and drop-off zones at each of the schools, which will increase costs. Additional HVAC, electrical, and sewer work will need to be done at all buildings. We currently have a decentralized school system across the district, which is not an efficient and effective way to teach students, staff schools, or maintain facilities. It also spreads resources and programs thin across multiple schools. Examples are related arts, related services, and counseling. A question came up, is HDSD moving fast on this project? No. This project has been discussed as part of a multi-year strategic planning committee that met over several years and was open to every member of the Hamilton community. The strategic plan, and specifically the preschool edition, was presented at the January 2025 Board of Education meeting. At the March Board of Education meeting, myself and Spiesel Architects addressed the project and all the questions raised by the Board of Education and the community. Meetings with the Robinson faculty, community, and elected officials were held from January through April. All questions posed by the community have been answered in a timely manner. Are taxes going up to build the preschool addition? No. $11.6 million is through a state grant. The $17.5 million of financing through the Mercer County Improvement Authority is due to a school debt that is maturing. The resolution from the Mercer County Improvement Authority clearly stipulates that there cannot be an increase to the tax levy as a result of this project, and the board approved that last month. They approved the amendment that stated that. Further funding for staffing and operational costs will be made through a preschool expansion grant from the New Jersey Department of Education. All furniture for the addition is already included in the costs. Have comments from the public been considered for this plan? Yes. Comments and concerns have been considered in the plan. Concerns and suggestions that have been incorporated must be within the confines of the requirements of the grant monies. Adjustments have been made related to transportation, drop-off and pickup, staff and parent parking, green space available for students, and the traffic study. And finally, in this community update, I've stated providing our school community with a preschool program is a generational change for our students, families, and community. It opens opportunities to address the learning needs of our youngest children, which research indicates improves learning outcomes over the time of a child's education. There's more information in the community update in general about the district, and I encourage everybody to take a look at that. It's on our website and our social media feeds, but since this has been such an important topic for our community, I wanted to make clear the items that we have provided this month related to that project.
Thank you, Dr. Rocco. I'm going to move on to any announcements from the Board of Education members. I'll start with Dr. McSheene.
Not today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Ferrara.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Thornton. Good evening, everyone. We have come to that time of year when the days go flying by and board members get invited to attend lots of fun events. This past Friday, as the board liaison to Klockner School, I was invited to the school's Arbor Day celebration. The weather was fantastic. Thanks to the township's Shade Tree Commission, 4 beautiful trees were planted on the property. 2 dogwood trees, an oak tree, and a cherry tree. And the students took a vote on which trees were going to go into the ground. Members of the Nottingham Garden Club were also present to help with planning. Additionally, Klockner's PTA, under the direction of President Aaron Caruso, made sure that every student had a cup of dirt and seeds to plant, and Mayor Martin also joined us that day. Thanks to a group of volunteers at Langtree, who are actually parent alumni, or parents of alumni is probably the better way to say it. The garden out front has been cleaned and reimagined on May 10th, I'm going backwards. On May 10th, they will unveil what they are calling a Garden of Joy. This garden has a little free library, a bench dedicated to Joyce Palumbo, a former Langtree librarian who passed away in 2015. The volunteers have added birdhouses and new plantings. Several families painted stepping stones for the garden. The unveiling on May 10th begins at 10 a.m. You can stop by Langtree and then move on to the Azalea Festival in Sand Garden. On May 12th, members of the Alexander Elementary School community will receive the School Leader Award from the New Jersey School Boards Association for the school's rain garden project. The germ of an idea for a garden was funded by a grant from the Hamilton Education Foundation. In addition to the hard work of Alexander teachers, staff, and parents and the rest of the community, the rain garden was brought to life with the additional help of Rutgers Cooperative Extension, the Watershed Institute, and the New Jersey Audubon Society. The ceremony will be held at Lawrence High School, and I believe all my colleagues should have gotten an invitation. That's all I have, Ms. Thornton.
Thank you, Dr. Ferrara. Ms. Stanton?
Hello, good evening, everyone. I want to first briefly thank Reynolds Autism program for inviting me to their autism breakfast at the beginning of the month. That was fantastic. I also wanted to thank the New Brunswick School District for hosting me to see their pre-K edition, which will be a very similar model to what is being proposed here in Hamilton. It was beautiful, ran very well, and it was great to see what that would look like in action. In regards to that, I did have a few things I wanted to share. There are many pros to early childhood education using developmentally appropriate and innovative curriculum like that in the state of New Jersey. This is proven with the results of students in replicated studies, both nationally and internationally. As stated by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation for the Administration for Children and Families, participating in early childhood education helps children to develop skills that will benefit them in school and in life. Specifically, research from the U.S. shows that early childhood education can help students learn the foundational skills for reading, math, self-control, and positive relationships. All young children can benefit from high-quality early childhood education, like that in a public school program, but it can be especially helpful for children from families experiencing low household income, children with disabilities served in inclusive classrooms, and dual language learners. These are all populations that continue to grow in Hamilton Township, populations we represent. Additionally, early childhood education stimulates brain development, particularly in areas related to problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity. Early childhood education provides opportunities for children to interact with peers, helping them develop essential social skills like sharing, cooperation, and empathy. In equitable early childhood programs with highly qualified teachers like those in Hamilton Township, children learn to express their feelings in a safe and supportive environment, building self-regulation and emotional resilience in preparation for kindergarten and beyond. Early childhood education provides a stronger foundation for academic success, resulting in improved performance in elementary school and those always looked over test scores. Early childhood education is also proven to be beneficial well beyond kindergarten. In fact, children who receive early childhood education are more likely to succeed in school, graduate from high school, and complete a bachelor's degree. Pre-K can instill a love for learning that can last a lifetime, a goal for all in Hamilton Township School District. I must say, although we might not agree on every detail of the future of our district, we cannot possibly expect results without change and modernization. We must invest in the future if we plan to keep up with the competitive world in which we live. I thank all the community members who have corresponded with me, most of which who have been in support of adding a pre-K addition to the Robinson Elementary School. That said, it is naive to think we can improve performance without implementing exactly what science shows prepares students for school, preschool, early childhood education. Even more so, it is selfish and reeks of privilege to suggest that families live within their means and mothers stay home with their children until kindergarten, as I was told via email. How do we suggest that to our growing population of families living under the poverty line, our single-parent households, the working grandparents and foster parents raising children? Let's be realistic, respect research, invest in our future, take the opportunity to be supported with the state grants offered now, and move forward toward a greater tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stanton. Ms. Harvey?
Yes, earlier this month I attended Tech Night and I wanted to congratulate the administration, the staff, the teachers, and everyone who came out from the community to participate in that event. I know a lot of students enjoyed seeing the different offerings that we have throughout the district. You know, Meaghan's son and my daughter enjoyed the program, so I just want to congratulate the tech department and the administration for a well-run outing. Also, I had the opportunity last night to go to the Langtree Elementary School Orchestra and Band Concert. It was a great show. Our little learners did a great job with the instruments. I think it's great that Hamilton offers elementary students the opportunity to learn instruments. I also want to point out that that program had to be run out of Crockett Stage because Langtree itself doesn't fit in its programming. So when we talk about our schools and our elementary schools in particular, they're stuffed to the gills. They can't even have a program for the parents of the students of that school. So I want to thank Crockett's administration for working so well with the elementary school to host them so that these students could have a chance to perform on stage for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Ms. Williams?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Thornton. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank Reynolds Middle School for hosting and inviting me to the Autism Breakfast. For those of us who live with autism, our children and grandchildren, we know that there are difficulties and challenges. Thank you for bringing awareness to this very important topic. I also attended the parent discussion with Dr. Rocco at Robinson for a question and answer session. And in part because I have heard our constituents' remarks and concerns, and in part because I have my own concerns, I'd like to encourage my colleagues to vote no for agenda item 15 under finance and operations. Which is the acceptance of the grant for the Robinson Pre-K. In hindsight, this board approving the motion in January of this year to enter into a $1.5 million contract with Spiesel, the architects, without first having done a professional traffic study was both careless and neglectful. We have heard, wow. We have heard feedback from many Hamiltonians, and this is a grave concern. When I was at Robinson for the parent meeting, there were many cones already set up for traffic. This addition of students and busing is sure to be problematic. Another major concern is the lottery system. Parents question how this will be effective in serving our universe of preschool students, and many families that will be impacted by traffic and waste management are no closer to knowing if their address will help their students attend this pre-K. We have been told several times that if we don't take this money, someone else will. This language is reminiscent to me of when my husband and I inadvertently found ourselves at a timeshare presentation. The language, you gotta buy this now, you can't leave here, or this deal is off the table, honestly, it made me suspicious. And I don't want to buy a timeshare under duress, and I don't want to buy a preschool either unless it's a good fit for Hamilton. Many families have expressed their dislike with a centralized approach to pre-K, busing 4-year-olds across town and having them have to travel up many flights of stairs. We also don't know the interest rates of these bonds, the terms, and whether there will be additional expenses, especially in dealing with a 65-year-old building. Another constituent brought up that other communities have partnered with private pre-Ks and used the money that way. Wouldn't this be preferable rather than competing with our private sector, especially after COVID? Many have expressed that they would prefer to add on to existing schools and keep their children in the same school rather than sending their young children away. State funding is actually federal money allocated to the New Jersey DOE. This is an election year. Many things are in a state of transition. We are already seeking federal funds that we have extended, hoping for a refund. But what if that doesn't happen? There could be a loss of federal funding for a plethora of reasons. Policy 5756, for example, which this board, with my exception, just reaffirmed. But it flies in the face of the new federal law, which states that girls in their private spaces should be respected, as well as females having the opportunity to participate in sports against other born females. Yes, our current Attorney General is suing school boards who have elected to drop this policy because it's not mandatory. A new governor in November will have the opportunity to appoint a new Attorney General and the head of the DOE. Things could change in Hamilton. Furthermore, we heard from 2 former school teachers who taught science at Nottingham High School. Back in 2004, a project to install new science labs was never completed. Unfortunately, the old labs were converted into classrooms and the new labs were still inoperable. Science students were deprived of most of their lab experience, and this was due to a limited budget, which resulted in non-functional, unfinished labs. I'm told New Jersey ran out of the money. This impacted both these teachers and their students. So unfortunately, federal funding is not a sure thing, and there are still many unanswered questions regarding this pre-K. Once again, I urge my colleagues to vote on the side of caution, rather than to take on this very expensive project that could result in buyer's remorse and additional taxes on our already overtaxed population. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Byrne. Mr. Kanka?
I have nothing.
Okay, thank you. This time I'm going to go to our student representatives. I will start with Cameron Mooney from Hamilton West.
Hello. So this Friday is our senior prom, as well as it is Teen Arts. We got invited to go to Teen Arts, which is a festival at Mercer County Community College, where you get to showcase many talents like dancing, singing, acting, poetry, and you get to get critiqued by Mercer's professors. There's also fun activities throughout the day like poetry lessons, acting classes, and an open mic. We have our Mr. H.H. West comedy pageant. It's May 15th, and we have around 7 to 8 contestants who are going to put on a fabulous show for everyone, so we highly suggest you come watch. Our Powder Puff game against Steiner is June 12th at West. The girls will be playing their hearts out while the boys will be entertaining the crowd with fun cheers and halftime show choreographed by me, so come out on June 12th.
Thank you. Gino DiNatale from Steiner.
Good evening, everyone. So kicking off the April month, we hosted Music in Our Schools, the vocal one. That was April 2nd. It was all secondary schools performing. So we had Reynolds, Grice, Crockett, Hamilton West, Nottingham, and Steiner as well. Our acapella showcase, which is this past weekend, April 26th. Both of our softball teams, both of our junior varsity and varsity, beat the Hamilton North / Hamilton West team. Our second multicultural night was April 8th. Our senior days, we celebrate our seniors for softball, boys and girls lax, and track all this past month. Our World Language Honor Society induction was also this month. Our AP testing is starting next week. It's the first 2 weeks in May. Our Earth Day activities was just this past Friday. We pulled weeds and planted plants around Steiner to make it more, I guess, earthy, if you will. Our After the Fire Assembly was this past month. It was very informative. The two guys who put it on were They unfortunately suffered from the Seton Hall fire back in 2000, so informing incoming freshmen to college at the high schools was essential. Our celebration of the arts is May 22nd. Our district orchestra concert is May 22nd. And finally, the SGA and Angeli's Little Angels collected items that were donated to Capitol Health Hopewell to fulfill children for Easter Sunday. So very nice.
Thank you very much. And Lanai Odom from Nottingham?
Hello. So Nottingham, the ending of the month was the most active, so I'm just going to speak on that. April 25th started off with the same After the Fire Assembly, hosted by Alvaro and Sean. It was just the exact same thing, talking about the Seton Hall fire in 2000, and just to the seniors, just speaking on it so you can have extra precautions for college. The 25th was also our senior prom and post-prom. Senior prom was at the Marion, while post-prom was at Funplex. Our Mr. North Star pageant is tomorrow. There's 11 strong contestants, and they are working very, very hard. The NJSLA testing took place yesterday and today. Drama class saw The Outsiders on Broadway today. The marine biology class is going to see the wetlands tomorrow. The gallery class is going to the New Jersey Capitol tomorrow. Our alumni share has been a total success. This month we had Lieutenant Kristen Cease, I believe that's how you say it. She's the first female lieutenant of Hamilton Township. And her coming allowed us to be able to go to see the forensics. It's a forensics unit now that we're open to go see. So I believe a class is going to see it next week. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank our student representatives. I always love hearing from them because it's a picture in time of what's going on in our schools. So thank you all very much. And I can't believe I'm going to say we only have about a month or so, month and a half left. So enjoy every second of it. So thank you again. And at this time, I'm going to move on to public hearing on the annual budget for the 25-26 school year. I do need a motion to move the public hearing resolution.
So moved. Second.
I have a roll call.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Dr. McSheene?
Yes.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Williams? Ms. Williams?
Stephanie.
Yes, here. Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Dr. Farrar?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask Dr. Rocco to do a budget presentation, but I would like to remind the public that we will be having question and answer afterwards. So I don't want you to think if you signed up for the first hearing of the public that you have to wait until then to ask a question in regards to the budget. If you have a question for the budget, Dr. Rocco will be asking afterwards so that you can come up and ask directly, okay? Screen? Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to get hit.
For me or for questions? Maybe for questions. Okay. Can I begin? Okay. Thank you. All right. If you were here last month when we did the tentative budget, there were a lot more details. This month, this is the final presentation of the budget hearing and the final approval. So some of the other detail that we put in last month's presentation is not included in this presentation, but it is available online for you if you'd like to look at that data. As I've said before and a couple of times, we're at an inflection point as a school district. We have growing enrollment, we have rising costs, aging facilities, and student needs. And what I want to say, and I just want to focus on this one item for a second, aging facilities does not mean that they're in disrepair. This district has spent over the last 8 to 9 years a tremendous amount of money to upgrade the facilities, repair the facilities, and keep them operational. But we do have buildings that are well over 100 years old in this district. The youngest building, or the one that was built the last, is Crockett, and that's over 30 years old. So how do we deal with these issues? We need to look at funding these issues now and into the future and make sure that we are managing these issues and addressing these issues as they go on. So when we build a budget, we talk about what are the factors that go into making a budget. So I want to go over all of those factors. I'm sorry, Stephanie, you're right there and I'm talking right in front of you. Enrollment is number one, and I said we have an increase in enrollment. Blue is actual, red is our old demographic study, and the gold color is the new demographic study. So if you look at the blue, you can see that we've had growth over the last 5 years, and the angle of growth is in agreement with what the new demographic study is, just slightly lower than what was projected. But we're pretty close. That means that we are still growing, and we anticipate the growth for next year. When we look at growth and we look at our student enrollment, we also have to look at not only the students that we have in our K-12 public schools, but we have to look at the students that go to the charter schools. So last year, our enrollment was approximately 12,213 students, or this year, and we're projecting for next year about 12,390. And you're also going to see that the charter school enrollment has gone from 461, and we're projecting it to go to 506. And why that's important is your taxes pay for not only the public school students, but also the charter school students. When you look at the enrollment and you dig deeper into enrollment, you also look at populations of students, and you can see that our English language learners have increased over the last 4 years from about 572 to 1,150 this year. Our special education students, you can also see that our enrollment has increased as our general enrollment of all students from 1956 to 2143. So that's enrollment. We also have rising costs, and that's no surprise to anybody in the audience or anybody watching online. But if you take a look and you look at some of these costs that are here, and we've made some comparisons of where costs were in 2018-19 to where they're projected in 2025-26, you'll see that health benefits have gone up 51.58%, workers' comp 57.53%, transportation 63.87%, waste disposal 64%, property insurance 67%, and gasoline 84%. And that's just a snippet of costs that we've paid over the course of those years and how they've increased. If you look at some of the budget drivers that we have and the things that impact it and the things that are resulting in us building a budget, very bottom we have contract settlements for our bargaining agreements. We have inflationary costs on all services and supplies. We need to address limited space and growing enrollment. We have to look at our student academic, social, and emotional needs. We work on preventive maintenance and capital improvements every year. Our New Jersey Department of Ed increase of 3.57 in transportation on our renewals this year, so that's beyond a 2%. We have anticipated growth in special education and out-of-district costs, enrollment in our English language learner population. I mentioned charter schools. We are losing our pilot revenue because that is running out. Potential loss of base federal program funding, projected 20% increase in electrical costs, and an increase in medical and prescription benefit costs. So one of those costs, as I talked about, is the increase in charter schools. This is an increase that's going from 8.4 million to a projected 9.1 million. And so if you look at that increase from 2023 to projected 2025, that's an increase of $3.7 million over that time period. On the learning resources and materials. So we are going to be including enhancements like we do every year. Some of those enhancements are K-12 to specific programs, math, science, social studies. Also, we're preparing to go to block scheduling at the high school, so there are enhancements associated with that. But you can see that we have a number of new instructional textbooks and classroom books that we will be implementing next year. Our library and STEAM programs, we have a number of programs that we will be implementing next year, and other curriculum and instruction enhancements. For example, every year we buy new instruments and we rotate that on a basis of one high school and one elementary school each year. And as you just heard before by one of our board members, the arts are very big here. And so our students use our instruments and we have to make sure that they're repaired and we buy new ones on a yearly basis. We also repair and buy new art equipment for our students. Every couple of years, we buy new band uniforms for our students. Next year, North will get those. And we either enhance or replace our instructional platforms that we use online. And one of the other things that we do in the district is we provide a tremendous amount of professional development for our employees, and so we keep enhancing that program too. Within our special education enhancements, we are going to be getting a new reading curriculum. We are going to put in place our multi-tiered systems of support kindergarten tier 1 behavioral system. We are going to continue with our school data team implementation at the middle school, and we are going to be developing high-impact in-class resource room practices for our students. Technology. So we are all connected. We are the now generation. Everything we need is right now on our phones. And so what's important here is to understand that this district has committed to advancing technology in our district going back well over 12 years ago when, and I always tell this, that the Wi-Fi and internet in the elementary schools back then was worse than what you had in your homes because they were residential routers that were in the schools at that time. Now we have state-of-the-art Wi-Fi and protections in place, but also making sure that we can handle the number of devices we have. We have a device replacement cycle that we have in place. We're upgrading and replacing interactive panels across the district. We're upgrading our firewalls, our access points, our backup systems, and we are putting in additional security cameras and technology to enhance our security. We have a layered security system in the district. Some of it you may see and some of it you may not see, but each year we enhance it and upgrade it. Within staffing, many years we're here and we're looking at staffing and we have a number of staffing increases. This is the lowest number of staff that we will increase here in the district. We're adding 1 elementary teacher, 2 multi-tiered systems of support interventionists, and 1 HVAC technician. We've taken a lot of time to review all the staffing in all of the buildings to make sure that we are properly staffed and to make sure that we are only adding the staff that we feel are necessary to add at this time. When we talk about maintenance facilities, and I just said aging facilities doesn't mean they're in disrepair, just means that they often need a lot of work, and that's an important thing to keep in mind. Here, we have a lot of different things that we're doing to upgrade our facilities. And you can see a number of these things. We have several grants, regular operating district grants, or ROD grants, where 40% of the costs are provided by the state. And we're going to be doing HVAC work at Layler. We initially anticipated that all that work could be done this summer. We're now thinking that's going to be a over 2-summer process based on some materials that need to be delivered that the vendor does not believe can be all delivered in 1 year. We are doing work at north, east, west on the roofing replacements. If you go past the high schools right now, you're going to see that there are flags on the roof. They are doing that roof work now, and that's going to continue through the summer, but that work has gone on and is on schedule because the weather has actually been relatively good over the last couple of weeks. We are doing work on auditoriums. So over the next couple of years, we're working on all 3 high school auditoriums. Nottingham will be getting the first work done on them, and that's going to start very shortly. Clockton and McGalliard are going to go and get electrical upgrades. The electrical systems in our buildings cannot handle the electrical loads that we have, And before we ever add any air conditioning into any of these facilities or any more than we have right now beyond window units, we must start with the electrical grid in the school. So we're starting at Klockner McGalliard this summer. We're doing security door upgrades, again, part of our enhancement to the security that we have going on. This just kind of breaks down some other activities with the high school auditorium, special ed bathrooms at Robinson. We have to do the boilers at Yardville Heights, and then some additional electrical upgrades. We always do a lease purchase. That's where the uniforms and the art equipment and the instruments come from. And so that's in that lease purchase, which is the bottom left-hand box. We will also be working on one of the bathrooms at Steinert, right outside of the cafeteria. And we have the money allotted for the third auditorium, which we will also begin working on. We'll also deposit $3.4 million into capital reserve for future projects as we continue to plan for the future here. In addition, this budget includes $2.3 million that will require preventive maintenance, and that includes the work done by our 26 tradesmen here in the district. And on the budget discussion is also the new preschool and the high school pool conversions, which are part of the facility strategic plan, and we mention it there because that is part of our enhancements as we go forward. So the budget development. State allocation this year was increased by $634,161. We appreciate $1 more. However, we did anticipate a little more than what we actually got. And if you look at the red marking there, you'll see that it was pretty static or slightly increased over 11 years, and we're finally getting close to what the formula says we should get. The formula says, according to transportation aid that the state provides at $5,080,601, that we are fully funded according to the state in transportation. That does not mean that you are being funded for everything you spend on transportation, because we actually will spend $21.3 million in projected costs on transportation next year. The formula also says that we are funded fully for special education at $15,270,750, but we actually are projected to spend 26.7, or we budgeted that amount in special education next year. This is something I spent a lot of time on last month. I'm not spending that much this month, but there are details on it in last month's presentation. The state does a lot of calculations, and one of the calculations that they determine is how under adequate are you in your funding, and we are, according to the state calculation, $55.8 million underfunded or under adequate, which means that the tax levy should be $55.8 million higher. Now, I'll stop for a second and be very clear. There is zero recommendation to raise that amount of money. Okay, so I want to be very clear on that. I'm just covering this number because it is a number that comes up, and we talk about it when we do budgets. One of the responsibilities, as you know, in a budget is that your revenues and your expenditures must be balanced. They are. Here's the breakdown in the categories, and you can see that they balance with revenues at the top and expenditures at the bottom. Give you a second right there. And the board is actually voting on this item, which is a balanced budget, and this is the actual what they vote on, which is the numbers in the budget and where they go from the general fund to revenues to debt service, and then what the totals are. And then the tax impact on an average household, 2025, the average household is $217,603. Tax impact per average household per year is $118.83, or $9.90 per month, or $54.61 on assessed $100,000 assessed value. I'll leave that up for a moment so everybody can see that. And we're going to put this online too. So anybody that wants to look at these slides later, we'll have this up tomorrow morning for you. So what does this budget provide? It's a balanced budget with a increase in state aid by $634,000, which is less than 1% increase in our state aid. It reallocates 50% of one-time capital funding from the current year and utilizes tax levy cap adjustments to maintain district programs and staff without any reductions. It includes some additional staff, 2 interventionists, 1 elementary school teacher, 1 HVAC tech, increases investment in our district security, which we have increased by over 200% since 2020-2021 school year. Significant increase in device replacement because we are a 1-to-1 district. Continues to upgrade our libraries and auditoriums. Funds electrical upgrades. Funds staffing initiatives, including matching funds for aides to teachers programs, and increases professional development in professional potential absence of federal funding. Now, I just want to go back to this item right here. Fund staffing initiatives, including matching funds for aides for teachers. What does that mean? That means right now we are in a teacher shortage. That means that there are more positions in the state of New Jersey than there are people. The number of students coming out of college that want to be teachers has dropped dramatically over the years. And so colleges are beginning to develop programs for people that didn't go to school to be teachers, but may have degrees in other areas. And there are a number of schools that Dr. Copeland and his department, the HR department, have been working with that will train ed assistants, classroom assistants, train them to become teachers. And if we fund that for an assistant, they would then come and work here in our district. They're already an assistant, they would come and work as a teacher in our district. This is a great opportunity to do something called Grow Your Own. Grow your own teachers, people that are already invested working with our children that want to go the next step from classroom assistant to certified teacher. So the budget includes some funding to assist with that. It funds some new curriculum for regular ed and special education. It also is the first budget under the new teacher contract. And the community has come out for years and talked to the board about this. The need to have health benefits at the family level for new hires, new teachers from day one. The new contract includes that, and we are beginning the process of implementing the long-range strategic plan. This budget addresses all 5 of our budget goals. Equity, which means we provide schools what they need for students to be successful. That means we don't give every school exactly the same amount of things each year. We make sure that we meet the needs of the students and the staff. It provides opportunity for learning acceleration. It addresses the standards in the district. It improves security, safety, and infrastructure. And it continues to provide budget stability in the school district. And we used to put this at the beginning. I put it at the end here. We're at the end of the budget cycle. Just want everybody in the community to know that we start this in December, and actually we started a little earlier than that. And we're at the end here with the budget hearing and final approval with the submission of the final budget after the board considers and votes on it, and that would happen tomorrow. And with that, I will end the presentation and open it to questions. So do you want to start with board members, Mrs. Thornton?
I just want to make sure that we have a microphone.
Yes, we have a microphone. We have a microphone right here. Anybody from the board have a question?
One, two. Someone want this?
I'll open it to the public. Budget question from the public. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. I don't always get the applause at the end. Thank you. I need to see it.
that they're
Oh, my.
Thank you, Dr. Rocco, for your presentation. And at this time, Ms. Harvey, can I ask you to move the resolution to approve the final adoption of the 2025-2026 budget?
Yes, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I'd like to move for the board to approve the 2025 to 2026 school budget.
Second.
Ms. Atwood, roll call.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Dr. McSheene?
Yes.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
No.
Dr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. At this time, we're going to move on to committee reports. I'll start with our board committees, and I'm going to start with Mr. Kanka.
Thank you. On April the 23rd, the Finance and Operations Committee met. I want to thank the committee members who attended, plus all the senior staff. We had a very
Mr.
long-
Kanka, could you speak a little closer to the mic for us, please? Thank
No.
you. I can't hear your dulcet tones.
We met on the 23rd of April. First off, Dr. Rocco started out with the communications, talked about the community updates that will be coming out, which came out actually today. He spoke about the final budget approval. We spoke about reporting the budget and receive approval through the county superintendent. Dr. Rocco reviews a couple of proposed changes in the budget. Then oops. Then we talked about the funding that was coming from the anticipated bid for the Robbinsville bathroom project. This is a project for special needs children, and that bid came in significantly lower than was originally budgeted for. Then we moved into we talked about the preschool drawings for final approval. There was a multitude of questions from the committee, which Dr. Rocco responded to. He also gave us an update on some of the community activity that he attended and the questions that were brought forth by the community. The motion continues the process to move forward to secure the financing from the Mercer County Improvement Authority to fund the district share of the preschool project of $17 million and pool conversion project of $10 to $12 million. The MCA must complete the financing prior to the district putting the project out to bid. The budget will have to take action to award this project once the bid, assuming the costs are within the project projected budget and financing. It looks like July could be the time frame for when the bidding process starts. The community, there was several community questions raised that were addressed by Mrs. Atwood and submitted into the board library. Then we moved into the lease purchase approval that will be added to the April agenda tonight. It's on for a vote tonight. It's a purchase for technology devices, panel security cameras high school lab equipment, kitchen tables, portable serving lines, a maintenance van, snow blower, science applied, tech STEAM equipment, and music and art equipment. And I had already mentioned about the bathroom project at Robinson. The projected bid was $250,000. The bid came in at $171,930, including the 5% contingency. We also talked a little bit about the block scheduling for the common lunch, where the portable food lines will be placed outside the gyms at West and North and East. Additional cafe tables will also be purchased to supplement the seating. There will be a seat for every student between the gym, cafeteria, and the media centers for lunch. Nobody will, if they want to stand elsewhere, that's up to them, but there will be a seat available for them. Additional areas include the courtyard based on, obviously, the weather, hallways of the student's choice. Classrooms can be used at the teacher's option. Electrical upgrades are underway to support the additional food service equipment for this project. We've also been, the Township Fire Marshal has been in contact with the district with walkthroughs with the principals, the business office, and facilities and operations architects to review the locations to ensure requisite egress is available. Then we moved into the upcoming Layover HVAC project, which is a ROD grant project. This motion was approved. A motion to approve an abatement for this particular project is on tonight's agenda. It's a small abatement at the school for some removal of some piping insulation. There's just one little snag in this whole project. We're still waiting for a transformer from PSE&G to be delivered, even giving us a date on when it's going to be delivered. So this may split the project into a 2-year project over this summer and next summer. Then we talked about the Nottingham auditorium project. But the work will begin in the auditorium project in May with no disruption to any of the student population at the school. A temporary door that will be installed so the contractors could move within and out of the facility while school is still in session. But there will be no access for the students to this opening. And there will be no access to the auditorium once the project commences. And we had a discussion on a payroll office update. We have one individual that's has been out and another one's leaving. So we talked about some temporary people coming in to fill those positions until the people can come back to work. Then there was as everybody knows, there was the ESSER 3 reimbursement status that we're still waiting on. There's 15 schools, districts that have been affected and are suing the Department of Ed to restore that status. These funds were, the work had to be completed before the funds could be given back to the district for reimbursement. And those funds have been frozen for reimbursement. So we moved into another avenue of trying to secure those funding. Then there was a discussion on a possible tree removal in the Steiner courtyard due to the fact that the tree was encumbering on the new roof that's being installed at Steiner But there's a few options that we're looking at of possibly just trimming the tree back away from the roof and making sure that it's groomed on a yearly basis so it doesn't encumber the new roof that's being put on right now. That's that's still in the progress of being discussed and how we're going to resolve that situation. Let's see. Then there was an item about we have canceled checks that the business office has given out to people that are owed money, but for some reason, these individuals have not cashed these checks at all, and some of these are up to over a year old. So we're discussing that and how we're going to resolve that situation. And then we talked briefly about the preschool facilities expansion, grant acceptance, the final drawings and stuff like that. And we moved in, there was an all-committee agenda items that I spoke about. It was the April annual reappointments of non-tenured staff, the trees, there's going to be a tree project going on at Nottingham. Apparently the township received some type of a grant, and they're going to be planting some trees over at the Nottingham High School. The board did express their concerns about trees being planted, between the road and the sidewalk, so it doesn't, as they grow up, they don't damage the sidewalk. So that was going to be a concern that was going to be addressed to the contractor or to the township. And then there was a conversation on a chronic absenteeism within the district. And that concludes my report. Our next meeting is scheduled for May 21st at 8:30 a.m. And if any of the board members have any questions, I will be happy to take them.
So I'll start with Dr. McSheene. Do you have any questions in regards to Mr. Kanka's committee report?
Just a question regarding the checks that have not been cashed by various entities. So time-wise, is there like 180-day period where they're supposed to cash it by? And if so, is that in our policy? Is there anything in our policy that ensures that we hold on to it until they cash it or anything like that?
So if I can, would you like to ask Ms. Atwood if she would
Mrs.
like
Atwood
to?
can answer that question
Thank
for you and how we've handled it in the past.
Well, actually, we haven't been really handling it in the past, which is why we've been trying to create this process. Last year, about a year ago, we put really, really old checks on for the first time, I think, since I've been in this district to cancel. On the check itself, I think it's even closer than 180 days. And so they're not supposed to be able to cash them at the bank. The bank is supposed to hold them. But we didn't have a process here, and we wanted to do our due diligence, which we've done now multiple times, to get to last year, and we did it again. Reach out to all of those that are still outstanding to ensure that the check is either not owed anymore, which is what we find, or we cannot find them. So we want to put on the board agenda to cancel them. And most districts do this on a yearly basis, and that's what I'd recommend. I do not believe it's any policy. This is just we want as our practice.
Okay. Because I do remember doing that last year.
Yes. That was the
That was a
first
big deal,
time in
yeah.
years, so we want to do it every year now.
Okay. That's my only question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McSheen. Dr. Farrar?
Well, let me dovetail on this. Mr. Carrick, is there a process that we have to use for cancel, if people don't cash their checks and the checks are now a year old? And is there a legal mechanism that we have to follow?
For checks that we've issued that have not been cashed?
Yes.
Generally speaking, no. We have to just be mindful that if they're paid pursuant to a contract, that they are entitled to that. The statute of limitations for breach of contract is 6 years, so we have to be mindful of the fact that even though they don't cash it for a certain amount of time, they could suddenly realize that they haven't been paid or they haven't cashed the check, if it expires, they can come back to us and say, you know, we did this work, we provided this service, we'd like to get the money now. We have to be aware of that.
Okay, do we need a policy in order to cancel these checks out? I mean, do other districts have check canceling policies?
I'm not aware of other districts having a board policy with regard to cancel checks. It's more of an accounting situation.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Stanton?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Harvey?
No, thank you.
Ms. Williams?
No, thank you.
Ms. Byrne?
No, thank you.
Mr. Kanka, would you like to give us a report on negotiations?
Yes. Yes, I would.
Thank you.
As we're aware, the negotiating committee entered into negotiations with the Hamilton Township School Administrators and Supervisors Association. We met on, our last meeting was on March the 31st. We sat down, we had a very, very positive discussion, and we actually reached a tentative agreement on that day. That was our second meeting. The MOA Memorandum of Agreement was typed up by our board attorney, Patrick Carrick, and was printed and signed by the association plus the board members of the committee. And I got word today, I spoke with Mrs. Atwood this morning about the scattergrams and if they aligned with the agreement with the increase in salaries, and they did. There was a grammatical error that was in there that was quickly taken care of. That was found by Mrs. Atwood, so it was not a big deal. I wanted to let you know that the HTSASA ratified that contract today at a 4 o'clock meeting. I received a text message from Mr. Ragazzo, the association president, and as of right now, we have an agreement in principle, and it was ratified. I would like to give you some of the details. It was a 5-year agreement, which we're very, very satisfied with, and the details of that contract will be posted. There's just too many to talk about right now. But I wanted to thank the association, Mr. Frank Ragazzo and his team, for their professionalism, courtesy, for a very, very productive meeting. This settlement was achieved 2 months ahead of the existing contract's expiration, and I wanted to thank those who all made this possible. I also would like to thank the Hamilton Township School District Committee of Mrs. Thornton, Dr. Rocco, Mrs. Atwood, Dr. Copeland, and our board attorney, Patrick Carrick, for the professionalism, and it was a very, very productive couple meetings we had, and it was everything went very, very smooth. So it was, I appreciate all the hard work, and I'm just glad that we got it done. That concludes my report. If there's any questions from the board.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka. Okay, I'm going to move on to the Personnel Committee. Seeing that unfortunately Ms. Soto could not be here as the chair, I believe Dr. McSheene, you'll be giving the report this evening?
Yes, I'm the substitute, so please take it easy for a second.
Thank you.
But the Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, April 23rd, with our chair, Ms. Soto, myself and Ms. Williams in attendance, as well as Dr. Rocco and senior staff. I'll go through the items that were addressed with the other committees first. We talked about the trees at Nottingham, how there was a request by the principal for acceptance of the trees on the campus. Dr. Rocco and Ms. Atwood provided an update on the budget, which we just heard tonight and approved. We also heard feedback and updates on the pre-K addition to Robinson. As proposed, Dr. Rocco shared that he had had several discussions and continued with the dialogue among local residents as well as the board members. I know we've all received comments and questions. And we talked about the motion that is on the agenda tonight. Talked about the pilot summer work schedule program, which is also on the agenda, as well as a plan to address chronic absenteeism for the schools. And we looked at the renewals for unaffiliated employees, which is also on the agenda for tonight. Now, personnel-specific items that we discussed in our group. You'll see that motions 3A through AE are those appointments that we discussed that I just mentioned. There's also an update to the vacation calendars for the 12-month employees, the part-time custodians, as well as the trades employees. We discussed vacancies in our schools and looked at the positions that will be available. From memory, there were several positions, particularly in math, English, and Spanish, particularly among our middle school and high schools available, as well as a few of the newer positions that are the librarian ALPS in the elementary schools. And then I think Mr. Kanka kind of covered the HCASA items, and sorry, computer. 1 second. Okay. And then Ms. Atwood gave us at least provided the rationale and the plan for coverage of the employees who will be out through the payroll office in terms of how we would be hopefully training them and onboarding them. So that was addressed. Okay. The details of the plan were posted in the library. And that's all I have for personnel, but I do ask Ms. Williams to keep me honest if there's anything you think I missed.
You did a wonderful job, thank you. No, I think you got everything.
Well, thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. McSheene. I'm going to start with Mr. Kanka. Do you have any questions in regards to Dr. McSheen's Personnel Committee report?
I do not.
Okay. Ms. Byrne?
No.
Ms. Williams?
No.
Ms. Harvey?
No.
Ms. Stanton?
No, thank you.
Dr. Ferrara?
No, thanks.
Okay. Dr. McSheene, do we have a DCR report?
Yes, I received a report from our chair, Cassandra Hodges-Jones. Unfortunately, I was out of town during this meeting, so I was unable to make DCR this month, but she was helpful enough to supply the report. The April meeting was held on April 15th at the Crockett Media Center. DCR, which for those who don't know, is the District Community Relations Committee, held an open forum for the meeting for members to openly discuss any positive or negative concerns that they may have had with the district, students, items like that. Among the updates and discussion points were community updates and data, registration and its process, as well as opportunities for family and community to engage and have an involvement with each other. DCR also wanted to point out that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so There are several resources available for people who may be seeking information or assistance, and they ask if you are one of those people seeking information or assistance, feel free to email the DCR organizers, and they're willing and capable of passing along such connections and information. So you can always reach out to DCR at dcr@htsdnj.org. Our next meeting and last meeting of the school year will be held on Tuesday, May 13th. The time flies by. It is in the Nottingham Schools Media Center from 5 to 6. It's their May mixer. They will have another open forum to close out the current school year and start questions and topics to discuss and work on for the upcoming school year. There will be light refreshments available if that's in case that's a draw for you, and they encourage everyone to come out. And if you do, feel free to bring a friend or a colleague. And I just want to reiterate, it is for everyone. So if you feel like you have something to say, or you feel like there's an issue that you might want to help work on, this is a great opportunity for that. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. McSheene.
Thank you.
Dr. Farrar, Curriculum Instruction Committee report?
Okay.
Thank you.
The CNI committee met last week on April 23rd. All the committee members were present. Mr. Scotto opened the meeting on a high note with news about this year's Seal of Biliteracy results. 111 students earned 120 seals in 10 different languages. There were several students who earned more than one biliteracy seal. The New Jersey State Seal of Biliteracy program recognizes eligible high school juniors and seniors who have studied and attained proficiency in at least one language in addition to English. And HTSD has participated in this program since 2016. To date, HTSD students have earned 862 seals in 23 different languages. For a second year in a row, the district's middle school students received CPR training, and 900 district freshmen participated in a teen mental health first aid program, which was well received by both students and teachers. The program gives students an understanding about how to get assistance for a friend who may need or want help concerning mental health issues. The committee reviewed several motions which appear on tonight's agenda, so allow me to begin with the many policies that we're being asked to vote on this evening. CNI motion number 4 is a second reading and vote on the sick leave policy and the sick leave regulation. These changes came about after the New Jersey State Legislature changed the parameters of what can constitute sick leave. So this is a second and final vote. When you vote on this, then that policy will be accepted and put in the policy manual. CNI motion number 5 is a first read on 3 existing policies and 2 existing regulations that are merely being tweaked. So policy 0164, titled Conduct of the Board Meetings, asks that we approve the reordering of the end of the board meeting. Currently, the meeting winds up with new business and then second hearing of the public. And the proposal is to flip those and change the order so that the second hearing of the public would come and then new business of the board before adjourning. Next, there is the attendance policy, 3212, and the attendance regulation, which is also 3212, for the teaching staff. And portions of that policy have been changed, and you can see the changes on the policy, to reflect the changes that are addressed in the new sick leave legislation that was passed. Additionally, attendance policy 4212 and attendance regulation 4212, which cover the district support staff, reflect the same needed changes. So those are all under CNI motion 5. CNI motion 6 is also a first reading, asking us to eliminate 6 policies which pertain to districts who receive out-of-district placements. Ms. Audino explained to the committee that the content of these policies were already memorialized in special education law and were not needed in our electronic policy book. These policy changes have been suggested by Strauss Esme, which conducted a recent policy audit for the district. For those in the audience, Strauss Esme is the company we use, which monitors state education law and provides districts with policy to align with the legislation. C&I Motion 7 was also discussed in committee. The motion asked that the board approve the revised and updated curriculum guide for a class called Marine Biology. A committee of 3 high school teachers consolidated information in the guide and in some cases reordered the course content. There are also 3 new units. They focus on marine mammals, marine reptiles, and marine birds. These units explore the significant impact mammals, reptiles, and birds have on the ocean ecosystems. Additionally, concepts of human impact on ocean organisms and ecosystems will also be investigated throughout each unit. C&I Motion 9 has been updated since our committee meeting. Mr. Kanka and Dr. McSheene referenced this. Nottingham High School Principal Frank Ragazzo has secured a $250,000 grant from Sustainable New Jersey to pay for the planting of trees on the high school's property. Plans are still in the works. One suggestion calls for the planting of trees along the Klockner Road portion of the property. I spoke with Mr. Ragazzo this afternoon. He indicated that his environmental science teacher, Michelle Ryan, you may have to help me here, Ms. Thornton. I think it's Kriskowski, is that right? Along with his vice principal, Mike Walsh, were instrumental in bringing this to fruition. Where they are placing the trees, there is a hope that eventually the shade from those trees will, impact the temperature in the building. There are 2 other motions I want to call your attention to. Motion number 2 asks the board to amend the spending of an IDEA grant. IDEA stands for Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act. Ms. Audino wants to move a portion of the grant monies from supplies and non-instructional equipment lines to professional service lines because they need classroom nursing services. And finally, some clarification on C&I Motion number 3, which are field trip requests. The first request from West asks us to approve a trip for 11th and 12th graders to go to an exhibit at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia to see, quote, 150 preserved organic specimens, and then go to the Reading terminal to experience food from different cultures. After I read that, I reached out to Dr. Altabello and asked, are they going to be eating escargot or what? It's kind of like you're going to go see these specimens and then eat. And it turns out it's one application and 2 different field trips. So the human anatomy class is going to the Franklin Institute to see the specimens, and a world language class is experience the cultural dining at the Reading terminal. Finally, the committee spent some time talking about the proposed preschool. Mrs. Byrne asked in committee if the district could work with existing preschools. Ms. Audino told us that she has reached out to private preschools in the area several times, only to be told that they have no room. We also discussed the fact that the motion we are voting on this evening merely involves accepting the grant money from the state and authorizing the architectural firm to submit the final plans for the building. And that's the conclusion of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Ferrara. I'll start with you, Dr. McSheene. Do you have any questions in regards to the Curriculum and Instruction Committee report?
No, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Stanton?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Harvey?
No, thank you.
Ms. Williams?
I just wanted to ask regarding the field trips for West. When I was reading it, I just had a question. Just the 9th to 12th grade, I think they're all going to Ellis Island. No, is it 9th? Yeah, 9th to, is it the whole, is it just select students or it's the whole school?
Which field trip?
The one to Ellis Island.
Oh, the Ellis, no, it's a select few, and all of those in that field trip. Where's Dr. Altabello? Didn't you tell me it was like 30 students, Dr. Altabello? I can't see you, so I'm just kind of talking to the wind.
Yes, because it's a club, you have students in all of the grades. There's about 30 students who are going.
Okay, all right. I didn't see that in the form there.
And you know what, Ms. Williams, to your point, and what I would like to do in our committee going forward is we kind of need to tweak these requests. You will see, for example, that Reynolds is requesting taking the entire 6th grade to Mount Laurel to play golf when we have a golf center in Hamilton. So, I'm not sure what the thinking is there. I think maybe we need, I don't know, I would leave this to Dr. Rocco and Dr. Altabello, do we need, and Mr. Scotto, do we need curriculum supervisors to oversee these applications to make sure they align with curriculum? I have no idea how much it's going to cost bus-wise to take kids down to Mount Laurel when they could go around the corner. To your point of how many students are going, that needs to be on the field trip application, the name of the class that's going. So I'm hoping that my committee will be able to work on that with the administration to see some improvements.
Thank you.
Ms. Byrne, any questions?
I didn't know if you wanted me to wait till she moves the motions. I have a question
Put on
about,
something specific on
Yes.
the actual agenda? Okay, if we can wait
Yeah,
until we
sure.
move it, absolutely. Mr. Kanka, any questions on the report?
No questions.
So I will ask Ms. Harvey, do you have a PTA liaison committee report?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. The PTA President's Committee meeting met on April 28th at Nottingham. Thank you to Nottingham for being such great hosts. The PTA presidents discussed how it was a trying year for most of the PTAs overall. There's a downturn in volunteers. So I thought that tonight would be a good time to mention that anyone who's involved in our community can join any of our PTAs if you want to be involved in the school. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a parent or a teacher. It can be an administrator, a grandparent, a guardian, a teacher, administrator, community, just anyone who wants to be involved in our schools, and they have to be a dues-paying member of the PTA. So there are guidelines. However, there's ways that you can volunteer, and that would really help these PTAs from struggling. There was talk that some of the PTAs might be folding this year because they don't have the required people stepping up to be the required president, treasurer, and secretary. So that's why if you want to get involved, that's a good way to help your local schools and be involved to help our students. We also discussed that it's still not too late to sign up for summer camp. That was a message that Laura Gelch had passed on to the PTA president, so I will go ahead since we forgot to mention that during your update, right? But so there's still time. Our camp program has 575 people registered as of today, but last year we had over 700, so it's not too late. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. So at this time, do I have any questions on the monthly suspension report? The monthly HIB report, Dr. McSheene?
Yeah, not so much a question as a suggestion, and I know the team has been helpful in addressing comments before and like formatting and such. I think for me, it would be useful to have not just the yearly totals. So on the right, of the HIB report, you'll see the yearly totals, which is great. But then it's hard to compare, let's just say Alexander, which is the first school listed. It's hard to compare the full school year of HIB at Alexander to where we are today. And what would be helpful for me personally is if there was like a year-to-date comparison as well. So that when we look back in this coming year in October, we see how many HIBs were total and confirmed and unfounded, or found to be unfounded, from September to October in the 24-25 school year. And then in the future, we'll have the same for the September and October timeframe of next year. That'd be more helpful only because I know sometimes I get excited looking down the totals and I'm like, wow, there's like 50% fewer HIBs, but really it's not it's not same to same comparison.
And
Thank you, Dr. McSheene. Dr. Ferrara?
Riding on Dr. McSheen's observation, to save the eyesight of the board members, it'd be nice to have a bigger, grid there to, I mean, you know, you can enlarge it, but then you're like tipping your
Yeah, it's hard because there is a lot of,
yeah, it's
there's
a lot of
information.
data and a lot of numbers in a little tiny space.
Thank you. Do I have any questions on the monthly health report?
I had one question.
Ms. Williams?
Just, I think it was, let me just go back here. I was curious why Crockett had half the student population health screened. There was 474. And if there was any correlation, because I also saw the amount of nurses' visits were significantly higher. It was like over 1,500 in that particular month, whereas it wasn't like that for any other school in the district.
Ms. Williams, I couldn't hear on this side of the table.
She's asking in regards to the Crockett numbers for health visits and.
Yeah, and the health screening. So there was 474 students that had health screening last month compared to not many other schools had that significant amount. And then there was also an increased significant amount of health visits. There was over 1,500 for Crockett. So I wasn't sure if there's any correlation between the health screening and the health visits, that's all.
So Adina?
The health, it's included in there, so the health screenings are included in the health visits.
I'm sorry?
The health screenings are included in the health visits, so that's why they're increased this month.
Okay.
Or that's from March, actually.
So just out of curiosity behind the speaker over there, I'm sorry.
That's
But
okay.
is it like, did Crockett just have health screenings allocated that month and not any other school? Because they had health screenings significantly higher than any other school.
They did, because we use the floaters when they're available to send some additional support over, and that's when they had another floater nurse go over to help do some of the screenings.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing that there are no other questions, we will move on to hearing of the public on agenda items. I will start with Brenda. Julian, please remember you have 4 minutes at the microphone.
Good evening, board. Is this on? I have 2 things I wanted to touch, and they come together. One was last month we had the state test results publicized, as well as the idea of our preschool, and they do marry together, I promise. The recent release of our district's academic assessment results underscores the reality that no one can no longer ignore. Our students' academic performance remains heavily influenced by socioeconomic status, and consequently, racial disparities persist. White and Asian students from high-income families typically perform better on state assessments, not solely due to the innate ability of them to perform better, but that they have the resources to provide essential extracurricular and educational supports. For Black and Hispanic students who disproportionately face economic challenges, the absence of these supports translates directly into lower academic achievement. These disparities are not merely numbers, they represent real students whose futures hang in the balance. Additionally, it's crucial to recognize that state test scores now include many English language learners and students with intellectual disabilities. Those scores were previously not included in Hamilton's overall performance metrics. This inclusion, while reflective of a more comprehensive picture, means that comparisons with past performance can be misleading unless this context is understood. And to meaningfully address these performance gaps, we must prioritize funding and resources to equalize educational opportunities. Public school preschool programs, in particular, have demonstrated the power of early intervention, helping disadvantaged children raise to the level of their peers by addressing developmental and learning gaps before they've widened. Early education sets a solid foundation and can profoundly impact children's educational trajectory and lifelong outcomes. Sadly, when community members come who question the funding and establishment of public preschools at last month's meeting also complained about our failing schools. Their positions seem disingenuous. Those who narrowly focus on test scores without supporting increased investment in education are not genuinely seeking solutions. Instead, they risk deepening community divisions and perpetuating cycles of inequality. True progress requires a commitment to fully funding our schools, ensuring that every student, regardless of background, has the opportunity to thrive. Moreover, investing in our schools has benefits far beyond the classroom. Communities with high-performing schools attract families and talent. Strong academic institutions bolster property taxes, making Hamilton a desirable place to live and work. Therefore, the health of our schools is intrinsically linked to the economic prosperity and overall well-being of our entire community, not just families with school-aged children. Let us commit to a future where Hamilton students and schools reflect the best of our collective ambitions, where each child's potential is nurtured, and where the community's strength is measured not by division, but by our shared success. Increased educational funding is not merely an expense, it's an investment in our children's future and the prosperity of Hamilton itself. And for those that come up and want to tear down our schools because of our scores and not look at ways in which we can increase our enrichment in our children, are not here for solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Julian. John Muka?
Good evening, everybody. I'm not sure how people are misunderstanding the things that a lot of us are coming to this board about. We don't want to put a stop. We're not trying to stop pre-K education. We're trying to make the best choices for $30 million project here. So let me address some of the misinformation that's out there. Traffic study. It's great that the traffic study is being done. I've been asking about that. A simple email to say that it's in process would have been helpful. But we can't do that. We have to wait till the day of to put out a missive that says all the things that are happening. Now, let's just focus for a moment on the Robinson Pre-K and the issue of why it is a one centralized building. Well, it started out that way in 2023 when the application was first made. Well, there were three buildings were listed, or maybe there was 3 separate submissions. I don't really know, it's not clear at this point. But in any case, just in December, the other 2 buildings were turned down, and now we're left with just the Robinson facility. Maybe if we had thought through this from the beginning and applied for multiple locations, we could have had 5 or 7 or 10 places, I don't know. But it all started with that. That's part of the narrative that we need to be familiar with. Now, as far as it being more expensive to do it at a decentralized locations, I'm just using the figures that I've been provided from the report and what we've heard from Dr. Rocco. So you take a $30 million building divided by 47,000 square feet, it's $629 per square foot. In that same project plan, the strategic plan, you're quoting prices of $429 or up to $509 per square foot to add extensions for other purposes in the buildings. So I'm just trying to understand why you keep saying it's more expensive. I'd like to see the rationale. I'd like you to show me the work, how that comes out, because I don't understand. The MCIA bonds, now it's not 17 million, now it's 28 million. Well, that's good. Now we know that the pool project is going to cost $10 million. I've listened to a lot of things, but I didn't know how much that number was. The question still remains, what is the total interest payments that are going to be necessary for a $28 million loan? All right, so, there's a little bit in the report that came out today. It doesn't come to the bottom line number. So we need to know that. And we also need to have a study that goes in detail and says if we did it at 5 or 7 locations, if possible, how much would it cost? So we have a comparison to say, pre-K done well at the Robinson School cost X dollars, pre-K done well in a distributed way costs more, costs less, whatever. There's incredible benefits to maintaining our decentralized system with the local schools. We're always worried about getting the parents involved. The parents are going to be more involved if the location is right down the street from where they live and they run into other people whose kids are in that same school than if it's a big 350 size large building in a lot that doesn't really have space for it. So this is all about trust. And we're going to need some trust because that adequacy numbers are going to be a problem down the road. And we need trust in the taxpayers and the parents to step up and yes, fund the schools. Yes, I'm all for that. I'm getting the impression we're not spending enough money here. And we got to go to the voters and we got to get more money. But we got to do it and we got to spend it the right way. We need a process that generates trust, not mistrust. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muka. Carolyn Kaschak, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Sorry.
Yes, I am with my fellow residents requesting that the board table the vote until due diligence is done.
I do apologize. Can you just move a little closer to the microphone? Thank you very much.
A nonpartisan traffic study needs to be completed and available for community review. To vote before this is done is premature, if not reckless and irresponsible. Also, we would like to see, what are the implications, what are the impact of the building with runoff to the neighboring properties? What is that going to do to, we're already having issues with that, with the development of Sharps Farm. And also the traffic, getting back to that, it's already a problem on that street. There's speeding, there's traffic, parking issues. It really needs to be looked at. To take this vote now is premature and actually we really believe irresponsible. You have to get this done and let us look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaschak. That actually concludes the hearing of the public on agenda items. So I am going to move to the agenda. Dr. Ferrara, can you take us through curriculum and instruction agenda items?
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I move items 1 through 10.
Second.
Okay, so I'm going to open that up for discussion. Dr. McSheene, do you have any questions in regards to curriculum and instruction agenda items?
Can you come back to me, please?
I can.
Thank you.
Dr. Ferrara?
Questions on my own?
Yes.
No, I think I understand it. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Stanton?
No, thank you.
Ms. Harvey?
Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
No, thank you.
Ms. Byrne?
I do. Motion number 10. I'm not going to mention a name, but we have a professional development entry.
I'm sorry, you said number 10, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, professional travel. Item J.
Okay.
And I'm just curious of a couple of things. The lodging seems excessive for the amount. And do we have a policy that requires for when someone puts in for additional, like I know we're covering transportation, registration, lodging, and meals, what that additional costs are? Did we ask them to keep receipts? Because that's also a high amount.
Yeah, I'll let Ms. Atwood discuss what additional costs are when we put in for professional travel, but I also want to let you know that the individual who's traveling there only goes every other year to that conference, and he is in charge of our power school, and that is the large conference about all the new things coming out, all the implementation. So he decided, because it is an expensive conference to go every other year.
You know, I mean, I don't have a problem that we're covering, for the, I think it's important that he goes, but if you look at the lodging, it's a lot higher than like all the other people that are going for events. And I'm just wondering what
I
the
think it's
discrepancy.
also location of the event and where it's being held.
Is
And
that
that's
it?
often what's determined for that.
Okay.
But the other costs, Ms. Atwood, what are typically other costs within travel?
It would be mileage to and from the airport.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Mileage to and from the
Mileage
airport?
to and from the airport usually is what it is, or it's basically your transportation from when you're home to wherever you're going, whether that's an airport. And if it's an airport, then it would be from the airport to the hotel.
So that wouldn't be going into the transportation cost then?
I don't have in front of me what.
Could it be too, because it was multiple days?
Because there's
Yeah,
transportation,
there's transportation, it says other
registration,
costs.
Yeah, but I
lodging,
assume
meals,
transportation
additional.
is
What do
usually
we
airfare.
consider additional?
Transportation's usually the airfare.
I don't have this in front of me, so Mr. Scotta, is your motion, could you maybe answer the specifics?
Yeah, so we follow the, I believe it's called the NGS travel regulation. So what's allowable for travel in terms of incidental costs, the allowable rate per day, transportation costs, registration, lodging, meals. Additional costs could be parking. Additional costs could be other incidentals associated with the rate. We are required to follow the federal guidance on that, what that is per day and not to exceed.
Does that help?
A little bit. I'm still
Also,
like,
just wanted to give a little clarification, if I may, to the board. To some of the other hotels are within the state of New Jersey, and if the commissioner has given a waiver of hotel costs, that would be a different rate. Whereas an out-of-state professional development conference aligned with a district program that we use, which manages all of the student data for about 13,000 students, this is their best professional development training that they can attend for them to then come back to our district to implement that.
Ms. Byrne, any additional questions?
no, I just didn't know if we required receipts for the additional costs, because I just
We
didn't know
do.
what that we do. Okay, thank you.
I have a question piggybacking on that then. So is it possible that people who are attending these professional developments might be spending out of their own pocket and not get reimbursed by the district?
We are required to place it on the board agenda, so they are eligible for reimbursement. And then the receipts are the backup, then when we do the final okay to pay. If they do not include any incidentals and it's noted as zero, either there is no cost or the person on their own has chosen to pay for it out of their own pocket, not requesting reimbursement.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Byrne, any additional questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Kanka?
No.
Dr. McSheene, I am coming back to you. Do you have any questions?
No, thank you. That's it.
Okay. Seeing that there are no other questions, Ms. Atwood, can you take us through roll call?
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Dr. McSheene?
Yes.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
I'm going to abstain from motion 10 and yes to the rest.
Dr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Motion's pass.
Okay. Mr. Kanka, can you take us through finance and operation?
As per recommendation of the superintendent, I move finance and operation motions 1 through 15.
Second.
Mr. Kanka, do you have any questions in regards to finance and operation agenda items?
I just have a couple comments I would like to make. I just want to let the board know that motion 12 is the asbestos abatement job or work that has to be done at Laor School for the air conditioning work, and motion 14 is the bathroom for at Robinson School. So just wanted to reiterate that. It's for a special needs student at Robbinsville. That's why we're doing the bathroom.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka. Any other questions on agenda items?
No.
Okay, Ms. Byrne?
I would like to make a motion to table motion 15 until we get that traffic study.
Do I have a second? Okay, seeing that I do not have a second, I cannot move the motion forward. Excuse me. I am going to ask for you to please be courteous. You cannot shout from the audience. You will have an opportunity to come up for public hearing. You did at the first session. There will be a second session. I am following the rules. There was no second. I cannot move it forward. Thank you. Ms. Byrne, do you have any other questions in regards to the agenda items?
No.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No questions? Ms. Harvey?
I would like to make a comment. In 1962, Robinson was constructed. It's fair to say that the homes grew up around Robinson rather than the reverse. I've received feedback regarding the proposed preschool. Overall, the community supports this concept in having a preschool. The negatives I've heard in the request to vote down motion 15 appear to miscomprehend the approvals on tonight's agenda. Tonight's motion 15 merely means a yes vote is to approve the architectural plans and receipt of the state grant. A no vote on the motion means there will be no preschool constructed in the future using the grant money. It means one of the 590 other educational districts will receive that money. It means where we could have 40% of the construction costs financed by the taxpayer in these other 590 districts, any future plan for a preschool in Hamilton would be 100% funded by the Hamilton taxpayers alone, requiring a referendum and tax increase. Imagine driving on the Parkway. There's an express lane and a local lane, and there are exit lanes. The request for a no vote argue that they do not want us in the express lane, but we're not in that lane. We're in the local lane. Moreover, the effect of the no vote does not keep us on the local lane. It puts us at an exit-only lane without re-entry. The board is actively listening to your concerns, and we've been improving the project as we talk to more and more people. In the last few weeks, we've added the traffic study. We've also asked for a redesign of the exterior to address certain concerns, including traffic and safety. Let's remember, districts who have adopted universal pre-K have increased their property values. They've also, importantly, increased their students' achievement. And that's what this board should be focused on. Time and again, the board hears complaints about test scores. The best way to improve scores is by having a universal pre-K offered to all residents. It does not mean all residents have to go for pre-K, but we should move forward in order to offer it. The current plan does not even provide all seats for all residents. It's just one step forward instead of one step stagnation. Not only do studies show improvement in K through 12 students who had pre-K, but the studies further show learning loss when elementary students are in classes mixed between those who had a pre-K and those who didn't, because the other kids have to catch up. We can address this learning loss right now because our pre-K, unlike other private ones, have certified teachers. They're not minimum wage workers who are just acting as babysitters. They're certified teachers who will be funded with grant money that's available. To address the three main concerns that I've heard: 1, traffic study. It's in the works. 2, the cost for decentralized preschools will be the same, but it wouldn't. Not only do we not qualify for the 40% to be wholly covered by other taxpayer money, with Hamilton taxpayers contributing only 1/590th of that 40%, but the cost would be far more expensive than a $30 million addition to Robinson, which its own separate entrance, its own separate building. It doesn't take away from the character of Robinson because it's closed off. You cannot access the preschool from the elementary school. The cost to construct 23 different preschools for elementary schools is impractical, as there's no state grant offsets, and the cost will require each of them to have their own architectural plans, site costs, project management, traffic studies, and others for each location, including, importantly, the renovations to the other part of the school. I noted earlier that Langtree can't even have a concert in its cafetorium. It can't fit it right now. And yet you want to add to a decentralized school to these schools that don't have the capacity. These schools, as the strategic facilities long-term plan noted, don't have a music room. They don't have an art room. They are stuffed to their capacity. By building this preschool, it takes that weight off so that we can eventually transition to do these additions to the elementary schools that need it. The third thing that was noted is the cost for the 60% part of the financing, which is a bond from the Mercer County Improvement Authority. The rate for that interest is set by the contract at the time that it is awarded, but that hasn't occurred yet. It hasn't occurred yet because we're not at the end. We are still moving forward. It is a process that we have to build upon. But the bond, importantly, requires no additional tax levy. The same cannot be said if we decentralize and construct at preschools at the other schools. As of the reports on the State Department of DOE's site, as of 2022 to 2023, only 3 other towns in Mercer County offer pre-K. But in the counties that adjoin us, 45 offer it. We need to catch up so that we can help our property values go up, so that we can help our test scores go up. The test scores in the other towns in Mercer that offer it reflect this benefit. And if something is learned that says we shouldn't proceed, we still have time. We're not in the express lane. We are in the local lane, and we are taking our steps forward. It's not ripe to pull into the exit-only lane at this time. So I'm asking the board to approve motion 15.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Ms. Stanton?
No questions. I did want to reiterate, though, that this evening we are not voting to approve this entire project and to start moving forward on it immediately. We are voting just to accept funding and to send over architectural drafts. This is not us saying that we're breaking ground tomorrow. This is not any of us even voting yes, deciding that this is what we want as the final project. This is just the steps forward. As we've heard from the superintendent, as we've heard from our business administrator, as we've heard from the architectural firm, we still have many avenues out of this. Tonight's vote is not solidifying anything long-term.
Thank you, Ms. Stanton. Dr. Ferrara?
I have talked to a number of young parents over the last couple of weeks. And Mr. Kanka and I have had a number of conversations about when the last time there was a school built in this district, talking about what past boards promised to do and never came to fruition. I remember a big grandstanding, let's go look at Hamilton High West, and we're going to make changes there for the good of students, and it never happened. One young father said to me, "Do you understand that you have the power right now to make generational change?" It was a very striking moment for me that, yes, I can't live in the past. The past is done. We're living right now, and we have the ability to majorly impact the future of the kids in this township. I look out, and the people who are opposing the preschool are not young parents. The young parents in this town are really kind of excited with the whole idea. One parent said to me, my kid might not even make the lottery, but the fact is that we are starting to go in the right direction. We have had letters saying that parents should stay home and take care of their children. Well, that's not a reality for many people. And we can't impose that reality and say you have to stay home and take care of your preschooler. But we can make this a more vibrant educational community and offer our parents who want preschool the opportunity to send their children to a public preschool. As Ms. Harvey pointed out, the preschools, private preschools only need 1 or 2 certified staff members to cover themselves under the law. A public preschool has certified teachers who are taught how to teach preschool. One of the things I was hoping Ms. Stanton would mention, and she might go back and talk about it, is she did get to visit the preschool. I was very concerned about 2 stories until she came back and said to me, you know what? There will be 2 hand railings, one for the adults and one for the kids. That's great. That helped me understand that, okay, we can get by with a 2-story building. I really am frustrated by the negative comments about this preschool, about bringing kids from other places to Robinson. It's very offensive to me. As Ms. Harvey said, we are looking at every step. I talked to Dr. Rocco the other day because several of you have talked about water runoff. And I said to Dr. Rocco, instead of putting a retention basin in, we should look to put rain garden in, just like they're putting in rain gardens at the municipal building. And that way we have a living lab. We address the water problem, we have a living lab on the property. We have to look to the future for the future of Hamilton. If at some point the tariffs kick in and we can't afford it, or the bond interest comes back and it's astronomical, we're wise enough up here to know what we have to do. But as Ms. Harvey said, we're not there yet. So I will be voting yes, even though if you had talked to me a week ago, Ms. Thornton can tell you, I was not on board with this. But it's the young parents who are talking to us, who are asking us to do right by them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ferrara. Dr. McSheene?
So, it's challenging for me to speak on this because as Dr. Ferrara pointed out, I am one of those young parents. Well, maybe I'm not young, but I'm a parent of young children. I like to think I'm young though as well. You're young. I'm young, great, thank you. And like just to lay it out there, you know, as a parent, I've got 3 kids. One is in elementary school, one is in her last year of pre-K, will become a kindergartner student in our district, and one will be turning 2 at the end of the summer, so he's a little younger. I know for just my pre-K kid, I have to pay in the neighborhood of $1,500 a month for a pre-K class. I am fortunate enough that both my wife and I work, and we are hopefully, fingers crossed, stable enough to be able to commit to that. But thinking back to my life as a young child, I was a Head Start child because my parents were not in the same situation I am in now. But speaking to that exact point, I believe it was my experience as a Head Start child, which if you're unfamiliar, Head Start's a federally funded program that allows kids to attend preschool. And I was fortunate enough, because of this Head Start pre-K, to enter elementary school at a relatively equal level as my peers who did go to Montessori schools and had parents in a better economic situation at the time. And that has not left me for a second, knowing that my friends have, very amazing people. I adore them still to this day. They've become doctors and scientists and educators and engineers and all of these things. And I was among them. And I know the importance that the Head Start program allowed me to do, or allowed me to, what they instilled in me, and just being able to come in at a comparable level. Now, we've heard throughout this year how children and students starting kindergarten are increasingly not at that level, not where they need to be, to the point of some of them being unable to use the restroom without assistance. It is programs like Head Start in my position, but pre-K, whether private or publicly funded, that allow kindergartners to start on the right foot. And playing into what some of my colleagues have pointed out, you need to start right, or at least it's better to start on the right foot if you want to help diminish those achievement gaps, to help provide the best starting point for the students. And I would like to imagine that most of the people in this room are on a similar page. I think we all want our students to be the best they can be, and we want them to have the programs that can allow them to do that. And I'm sorry, it is emotional for me, and I'm trying to hold that back a little bit, and I'm not a very emotional person, so that's kind of funny on my end. Now, to bring it to what we're facing with today. Like my colleagues around the table, we've all received emails, we've all had private conversations, pro and negative or con against the ideas of pre-K in general, of the Robinson edition specifically. And I think as a group of people, we have to, and as a board specifically, we have to look at the question in front of us at each step of the way and say, and make our educated decision whether or not we can approve that specific piece in a process. Now, the question, I've got many questions, and I think we've heard many questions. One thing I keep hearing is that this is the centralized pre-K program, and I don't think that's accurate, so I just want to make sure. From what I've heard, the Robinson Pre-K edition will host hopefully a larger number of pre-K students, but we have pre-Ks happening in the district already at different schools. So my question is, will the pre-K that's established at Robinson get rid of those extra pre-K programs that are happening?
No, some of those will be brought in, but there will be pre-K programs that remain around the district.
Okay.
And typically around pre-K disabled classes, special needs classes.
Okay, so it's not a definitive centralized program as designed, as there will be additional seats in the district throughout different buildings. And I just want to hammer on the point that nothing gets cheaper. Nothing gets cheaper, and time is ticking, right? We have students who are unable to afford the $1,500 a month pre-K classes. We have students, future students who will not have the benefit of having someone who can stay home and help them. I'd argue many in my generation, that's not really feasible. And I just want to make sure that we are, like a lot of people in the crowd, we're doing our best to do our due diligence, but also not terminate anything prematurely. So a second question I have is, if we vote tonight to accept this grant money, is there any encumbrance on us? Is there any specific, do we owe anything to anyone?
Or a penalty?
Without, yeah, any penalty, thank you. If we do not end up continuing as a board on this specific project?
I'll defer to Ms. Atwood, but when it comes to state funding or Mercer County Improvement Authority, no. There have been some costs that we've incurred associated with planning and site and the traffic study. Those are costs that we're doing to prepare.
Okay. And to that point, if we were to look at other plans or whatever down the line, this is still one that I think should be on the table, and we would have had to, not had to, but would have had the opportunity to address anyway. And I think for those reasons, I'm voting yes on this tonight, with the faith that us as a board and the administration will be taking steps to make sure that we are doing this in a solid way, in a way that's not harmful to us or our students. And with the hope that, you know, we're not waiting 20 years to develop and add relocatables to schools that might not be able to house them in a way that's coherent. And as we all know, many of our schools are 60, 70, 80 years old. How much longer are they going to exist? And if anyone wants to sell some land for a little bit of money and we're able to put more schools on, feel free to let me know. But to be serious again, like this is, when I close my eyes, I think of the students who are unable to attend pre-K, who would have benefited this, and I don't want to, for us as a district, you know, 10 years in the future, 15 years in the future when they're graduating, say, wow, we really missed an opportunity, especially with other districts moving ahead, especially with test scores that are lower than we're hoping for. We have an opportunity to do something different. And I understand as a homeowner, as someone who from day to day is struggling to keep his lawn mowed and is angry when someone speeds down my little street because I do have kids. You know, I'm definitely aware and can empathize with a lot of the concerns I've heard. So just wanted to put that out there, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McSheene. Ms. Williams?
I just want to say one thing, that I know that everybody here in the audience, I think that there's one thing, even with the emails that we've received, there's one thing that I think unifies all of us in this, is that I think everybody agrees that we should have a pre-K in our district. I think that where maybe the disagreement's coming in is where it is. So I just want to say, we hear you here, but I think that what we're presented with right now are the tools to move forward on a vote tonight, just to, you know, approve the plans and approve acceptance of it. It's still going to have, you know, steps towards the final approval of building the pre-K. But I think that what we all up here are trying to do, because we know that, you know, everybody, I hope, is on the same page that we need a pre-K. We want to move forward. We want to provide that. We want to grow our district. We need to invest in our district. But this is grant money that is allowing us to not, I mean, even if we decentralized and we had several pre-Ks across the district, that is going to be a significant increase in taxpayers, right? And I think we're trying to avoid that, because we have an opportunity to have, maybe call it a pilot program where you have a pre-K that's able to provide and offer those services to our young students to move us forward. All of the districts around us have pre-K. I mean, why not us, right? And I think that that's something that we can all build on together as a community, because I think we're all there saying that we want pre-K. We just need to figure out the best way where, you know, we don't want to increase and raise taxes, but at the same time, we need to move forward, and this is what we have right now. So the motion tonight to vote to move forward to accept the grant money and to, approve those plans, not break ground, it is going to be baby steps. But it's something that I think that, honestly, like, let's focus on what's really bringing us together is the fact that we do want to move forward. It's the pre-K, right? So that's all I wanted to say. So thank you guys for everybody coming out and for reaching out to us, if you've reached out to us, for the pros and the cons. We appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Seeing that I have no other questions or comments from Ms. Byrne.
Well, obviously, from my previous little talk, I align myself with the taxpayers and the homeowners who are here this evening who have concerns, who don't feel that we are doing this in the correct order. And I agree with that. I just don't see how we can take a vote to accept grant money when we haven't seen a permanent traffic study. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think it's very disingenuous, honestly, to say that this is not going to raise taxes. No matter how we do it, when we do it, if we do it, it's going to raise taxes for the community because eventually the grants will run out. You will have to continue to fund the teachers, the supplies, and everything. And I just think, we're saying we're getting grant money, yes, but I do think in the long run, it will raise taxes. So I don't think that's, a genuine statement. For the community who does not want this at this school because they're concerned about waste management and traffic, I'm not sure how we, go forward. I will be voting no because I don't want to continue on this process until I know more about the traffic. And I guess in the next couple weeks, maybe we'll get a professional study done and it might say, what? If it says something to the effect that it's just not going to be good for the residents, will my colleagues then agree to not continue on this path? Because with each vote and each month that goes by and it gets closer to becoming to fruition, I feel it's going to be harder to turn this down. And so I don't want to continue down this path because there's too many unanswered questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Byrne. Seeing that there are no other questions or comments, this time, Ms. Atwood, can you take a roll call, please?
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Dr. McSheene?
Yes.
Ms. Stanton?
Emphatically, yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
No, motion 15, yes to the rest.
Dr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
I'm abstaining from number 9, page 54, purchase order 2503940, yes to the rest.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Motion's passed.
So at this time, I'm going to move personnel items. Dr. McSheene, can you take us through personnel agenda?
Yes, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I move personnel items 1 through 13.
Second.
Okay. Do I have any questions in regards to personnel items? Dr. McSheene, I'll start with you.
Please come back to me.
Oh, Dr. Ferrara,
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Ms. Stanton,
Not tonight, thank you.
No, thank you.
Ms. Hart, thank you. Ms. Williams,
No, thank you.
Ms. Byrne,
No, thank you.
Mr. Kanka.
I just want to remind the board that,
Wait, Mr. Kanka,
Hold on one
we
second,
can't
Mr.
hear
Can't
you.
hear, they need to quiet down.
And you need to talk closer to the mic.
Go ahead, Mr. Kanka.
ready? I just want to remind the board that motion 13 is approving the ratification of the administrator's contract. And again, I would like to thank the committees on both sides for their participation and the board for your support for the negotiating committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka. Dr. McSheene, I am coming back to you.
Thank you, and no thanks.
Okay, I would like to take a moment to recognize, we have 4 retirements on for this evening. We have educational assistant from Hamilton High School East, Steiner, 26 years service to Hamilton, Deborah Bierce. Secretary at Hamilton High School North, Nottingham, 21 years service to Hamilton, Glory Johnston. A plumber in our district, 3 years service to Hamilton, Douglas Tragler. And an elementary teacher at Greenwood Elementary School, 16 years service to Hamilton, Cynthia Marks. I want to thank you. I would like to thank you for your service and dedication to our district, and we wish you all the best in your retirement.
Ms. Thornton, I just want to put like an exclamation point on that. Cynthia Marks knows American Sign Language, and she's going to be greatly missed because she has taught so many kids at Greenwood how to sign. And when they come up and sing a song in sign language or, you know, just sign in general, the beaming is amazing. So she's been a wonderful addition to Greenwood. She'll be missed.
Thank you, Dr. Ferrara. So seeing that I have no other questions on personnel agenda items, Ms. Atwood, roll call.
Mr. Kanka,
Yes.
Dr. McSheene,
Abstain on 3E, numbers 70, 155, and 285. Wait, my vision, oh no, I am getting old. I'm sorry, 265, not 285. Yes, thank you.
Ms. Stanton,
I need to abstain on 3B, number 262, and number 267, and abstain as well on 3E, number 176. Yes to the rest.
I'm sorry, did I say yes to the rest?
yes.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
thank you.
You finished your
I am getting old.
You're not old.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
I'm going to abstain from 3C and motion 13, and yes to the rest.
Say 3C, I'm sorry.
3C.
Thank you.
all of 3C then, right? 3C, okay. Dr. Ferrara,
Okay, you got your pencil ready, Ms. Atwood? I am abstaining on 3A16, 3B2, 3E176212, and 7A1.
just going to repeat that. 3A.
176, comma, 212.
Thank you. That's what I needed that. Thank you. Ms. Harvey,
And yes to the rest. It's contagious from Dr. McSheene.
I need to abstain on 3B, lines 218 and 219. Yes to the rest.
Ms. Thornton,
Number 1001, no, and yes to the rest.
number 10,
Number 1, 01.
and yes, the rest, okay. I think they all passed. They all passed. I was doing my due diligence to cross
That's
it out,
okay.
but I think they all passed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I am actually going to move the agenda around. Well, actually, no, I'm not. It's already listed that way. Never mind. So I believe Dr. Ferrara explained in her committee report that we were going to be looking at the policy, and we would be doing hearing of the public, and then we would be moving to other business after. Each month, we sit here in our meetings, and we have community members that come up, and we do listen, and we try to adjust things to accommodate the community, because you do come and bring us questions and concerns. And I'm thinking this way, if we have hearing of the public, and then there's anything that needs to be addressed under other business, the board would have an opportunity to address concerns that the community has. So we're going to try it that way. And I'm going to ask for hearing of the public on school-related matters. I do have 6 individuals signed up, which would extend our hearing of the public. So I'm going to ask the board to please, I'm going to ask the board for a motion to extend the public so that every individual that signed up for hearing of the public has an opportunity to come up to the microphone.
So 6 people times 4 is 24, right? And it's 20. I make a motion to extend public comment time by 5 minutes.
So moved, or seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes.
I would like to thank you to the board for accommodating. So I'm going to start with Janice Glonick.
I honestly thought I'd make you have a good meeting without me talking, but something came up, so I'm going to talk. So give Dr. Rocco Yachida again. Okay. Well, the problem is the end of the year test, the iReady test, was given this week. Usually it's given the last week of May. This year it's 5 weeks early. 4 units of math and 4 units of reading were not taught. They missed a whole month of learning. 4th grade is going nuts at the moment because they're testing all week, and they're trying to find time to throw in a lesson like how to do 2-digit multiplication or something, because that's not going to be taught, but they want to try to give the kids a heads up so that they can do something halfway decent on the test. This test decides who's going to MTSS, which I have no idea what it means, but it's a supplemental help. Not knowing 4 units will put kids in the program who don't belong solely because they fail things they never learned. The test, this test is supposed to be testing what they should have learned, not what they did not learn. This iReady test alone decides who goes into the supplemental help. The teachers who are living with the students 6 hours a day have no say, and the teachers know best. Plus, some kids are poor test takers. With all the wrong kids going in this year because of missing 4 units of everything, the teachers are going to need to decide what's going on because they know the kids. 1st grade has had a problem for a few years now because they would not let anybody go into supplemental learning till February. If you're coming into 1st grade, not knowing your sounds, your letters, the words they learn in kindergarten, your numbers and how to add and subtract, that is the basis for 1st grade learning. So if you're not going to help them right in September and wait till February, they're going to be so far behind, it's going to be ridiculous. And it's going to take forever and a year to catch up. That definitely needs to change. They need to get the help by the end of September so they will not be faltering so badly in 1st grade. And next year, everybody would like the iReady test to be back in May so that they have a good view of what happened to the kids, not missed 4 units instead of learning the 4 units, which would be much better to know, did they learn it or didn't they learn it? Also, the end of the year, Linkit results have to be tabulated and recorded and sent into the head office. And also at the end of the year is Election Day. And remember last report card with the workshop, 3 days before the report cards, I explained how much work it takes, how many hours. So I sincerely hope Election Day, you're going to give at least half a day to the elementary to do all of this Linkit tests, and plus the report cards are due again to help them out. And a half a day would be wonderful, but a whole day would be spectacular, okay? So just remember all the work the elementary does through the foundation, and they need all the help they can get. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klonick. Lisa Linkowsky.
Good evening. Great to see everyone. And I'm actually going to piggyback on something that was just touched upon that occurred to me. My high school son had to take 2 days of testing for something yesterday and today, and he commented that it was very silly because they're trying to prepare for AP testing next week, and they lost a whole bunch of time in the classroom. So just going to point that out. Anyway, Lisa Linkowsky, I am the administrator with, one of the administrators with Hamilton Township Community Supporting Education, HTCSE, and thank you, board, for passing the budget today, 2025-2026 budget. There are numerous districts across our state that are facing incredible challenges. Jersey City has a $4 million reduction in state aid. Cape May City schools have a 27.29% cut. Newark schools are facing significant gap. Burlington County, 15 school districts are projected to experience cuts in state aid, and Bordentown, as many know or do not know, is closing one of their schools and cut nearly 50 positions, or eliminated or reduced several academic and extracurricular offerings. Asbury Park cut 27 jobs due to a 20% loss in state funding. Dennis Township, don't even know where that is, they are discontinuing their courtesy busing service due to a $4.3 million reduction in state aid over the past 6 years. So lots and lots of challenges, and yet we had one of the most crowded Board of Ed meetings in a while here, and not a single question. And yet I hear constantly that the board is not transparent, that no one knows where the money is going. And yet you come here every month saying step by step by step, this is what we're doing with the budget. This is how it's going to be going, laying everything out. And people do not appreciate how hard it is for what you just put together. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. All right, also, 2025 Board of Elections are up, coming up in November, and we posted that the deadline to apply is July 28th, and there are 3 positions that are up for election, Dina Thornton, Stacy Byrne, and Dr. McSheene. Regarding the preschool, the room cleared out for some unknown reason, as if they don't have any other concerns other than a preschool that may or may not be built in our town. But for those that might be listening still, and that this is their first time, there have been facilities meetings taking place for years, and the community has now just decided to show up and say something or not and walk away. I understand the concern about strings attached to grants, but unlike a timeshare, grants are transparent, competitive funding opportunities designed to support our students and district priorities, not to trap us. The requirements ensure accountability and responsible use of public funds. If we avoid every opportunity that has conditions, we risk missing out on valuable resources our community could benefit from. If people are worried about traffic, go visit one of our many schools like Greenwood, Kistart, Klockner, McGalliard. Go take a moment and see what it looks like over there every single day, where the traffic is a complete nightmare for pickup and for drop-off. So I live actually in the Robinson Elementary School District, and I thank you very much for passing tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Linkowsky. Chanelle Vickers Ames.
Hello.
Chanelle Vickers-Eames, a lifelong Hamiltonian. I just wanted to come up here and say that there are parents and community members that do appreciate all of the time that you, the board, put in for the changes that are needed for all the children in our district. And some of us do understand that every decision made cannot please every person in this district, but every decision is made for the best interest of, of all of our children. And also some people need to understand or do understand that there are challenging situations that require certain decisions, and we hope, and I know, it is handled on a case-by-case basis. And I just wanted to extend my gratitude to the board and all your time.
Thank you, Ms. Vickers-Ames. John Muka?
Good evening again. My name is John Muka. I'm a lifelong Hamilton resident. You know, we came here tonight to try to have a conversation. And in fact, that's what the emails are about too, to try to have a conversation. We didn't really come here to try to engender more conflict. You know, I think we've been trying to take, I don't know what all the emails are, I didn't write them all, but most of the people I talk to are reasonable people. We're just trying to find out what's going on. We're very surprised about the idea that this big building was going to be placed at the Robinson campus, because they had no warning. Yet the plan was afoot 18 months ago. The conversation should have started then. So now we're surprised. And make no mistake about it, this building is going to be built at Robinson. So stop with the, you know, there's other places we could stop along the line. We're going down this track. Now maybe we can downsize that building, make it half the size, and spread a little bit of that goodness to some of the other facilities. And maybe we got to pay our own money for that. We got to convince the taxpayers it's a worthwhile investment. We got to start having those conversations. We're just going to have more conflict all the time when we come to these meetings. Now, I didn't come here for conflict, but I'll tell you, when I send emails in and all I get back from a few people is read and, you know, open and read your email. That's not a conversation. It's not helpful to me, and it's not helpful to anybody else that I'm trying to talk to. And Dr. McSheene, you know, I appreciate what you're going through. You are a young parent or a parent of young children, whichever way you want to say it. But let's also honor the grandparents. There's a lot of grandparents picking those kids up after school, and they're working with them on their homework, and they want to see their grandchildren succeed. I have 2 grandchildren. I actually want them to succeed more than I ever wanted my own kids to succeed, because I've got time to see what they're up against, and they're up against a lot in today's world. So please listen. Open your ears and listen. We're not against pre-K. I don't think any grandparent that's spending time with their grandkids is against a pre-K, but it's got to be done the best way possible, and you've got to gain that trust by engaging in a conversation and being open about the fact that the strategic plan itself, it says multiple locations, different ways of doing it, but then at the bottom, for cost, all of a sudden we're in one place. Now, what if the state had approved all 3 sites? We'd be doing 3. Because we know that would be better than putting it all on one site. Now, here's the basic theme that bothers me and bothers a lot of folks. We're always trying to create more distance here between the parents and their children. Policy 5756 creates more distance between parents and their children, or it's possible that it can. That doesn't engender trust. And now we're centralizing the pre-K. And then the rest of the plan is to put the 7th and 8th grade students all together in one location, further from the parents. We're worried about parents' involvement. The parents are worried about what are their kids up to. You're making it harder by going down this path. We got to find ways to make it easier. And you can engage grandparents in helping the kids at the pre-K if you want to, if they're right down the street. It's harder to drive across town to be helpful. So please consider those things. Let's try to generate conversations, reduce the conflict. And thank you for all your hard work. I honor every one of you. I don't know why you're on the school board. It's a kind of a thankless task at times, but thank God we have a school board that we can spread all this work out among. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muka. Rose Griegel?
Yeah, Rose Griegel, Hamilton resident for 20 years. I just wanted to say that I don't think that the fact that the room cleared out is a bad thing. I think those are concerned and upset people. And no, they might not show up every month and all of a sudden they appear, but they just this fell into their laps. Because I asked several people, residents, parents, they only know of this in the last month or two. And so it's not appalling that they don't show up every single month to every single school board meeting. They have a legit concern. It's not that they don't care about kids, and I appreciate Ms. Harvey's testimony about how preschool is the only thing that can save the children, but that's not true. Parents and grandparents do care about their kids, and the residents are concerned about the safety. That's why they're concerned about the traffic pattern. And that, to me, when I was looking, I've been to Robinson Preschool, and looking at it from a map, it literally backs right up to a whole bunch of homes. It's a 2-story building. Getting a bunch of 3- and 4-year-olds, I know you said there's going to be 2 sets of handrails. Well, usually most schools, almost every school, the lower grades are on the bottom of a school if there's several stories. That's almost every school I've known of. The lower, if they have older kids, they go up top. I see that as actually a hazard to have a bunch of 3- and 4-year-olds if they had to evacuate in case of an actual fire, going down 2 flights of steps. That to me, that in itself sounds like a safety concern, let alone a traffic pattern. We know that I heard, a child was hit by a car somewhere. Mr. Kanka said, well, where were the parents when that happened? That it was the parents' fault. You guys pick and choose what is or is not where we should be involved and where we shouldn't be. These parents are concerned. You don't like what you hear, and you don't think they should say anything. And then when they do, you're not looking out for future generations, or you don't care about a certain group of people that kids are, whether they're transgender or whatever, if it doesn't fall in line with your way of thinking. And so sometimes you want to blame the parents, like when that kid got hit crossing the Wendy's, you said, where were his parents, okay? But, then there's times you want to say to us, it's not your concern. Kids have the right to go in, choose what book they want to read, whatever. You pick and choose, and it's kind of obvious where you do pick and choose. And also, before my time runs out, I would speak more on this subject, but I said some things at the last school board meeting that had to do with Mrs. Byrne. You can come to me. I didn't have a conversation with her. I'm talking to, I'm directing this towards you two. You can come to me. I know you've got my emails. I know you have my phone numbers. I didn't have a conversation with Mrs. Byrne separately. I've been observing this since she's been on the school board, the treatment, and I had an opportunity to say something, and I did. So if you want to talk to me and find out what my concerns are, I also know she showed up to a PTA meeting of the presidents. I know.
Ms. Griegel, your time is up. I do apologize.
She was asked to
We're going
leave.
to be courteous to the next individual. Your time is up.
All right, well, she
Thank
was
you, Ms.
asked to
Griegel.
leave from a PTA meeting, and I only
Griegel,
know that, not
your
from her.
time
I know that
is
from one of
up.
the PTA presidents, that you asked her to leave,
Your
Dr.
time
Rocco.
is up. Thank you. Pat Stanzione, and I apologize if I did not say your last name correctly.
I have a question. Doesn't Hamilton Township
Closer
offer,
to the microphone, I'm sorry.
doesn't Hamilton Township offer preschool for 4-year-olds in 8 schools. Greenwood, Klockner, Wilson, Cooser, Kishart, Yardville Heights, McGalliard, and Layler all offer half-day preschool for 4-year-olds. Is that correct?
So Ms. Stanzione, we normally do not answer the questions, but you're asking a very specific question. I'm going to ask Dr. Rocco if he would answer that for you.
We offer very limited preschool program through our Title I buildings. We also offer preschool disabled, which is required by law. So we do have a small number of schools that have seating for students. That is
Okay, you don't know how many children are in these programs, right?
Mr. Scotto, do you know the number of students that typically enroll?
We have to cap it at 90.
Okay. My point being that, it seems as though it's Kip saying that Hamilton doesn't offer preschool. I know it does in some limited amount. Okay, first of all, I am going to thank you all for the time because I know it takes you time. I respect the time that you give, but I am going to say, the lady in orange, I want to thank you for acknowledging that just because someone doesn't agree with this program is not against preschool. My children went to preschool, my grandchildren go to preschool. I really find it very insulting to hear people, some of the board members, lecturing about the value of preschool. And I think everybody that's here really does want preschool for our children and our grandchildren. And I just want to make that point that some people just don't think this is a good program. And rushing this program before a lot of these things are taken care of and understood, I don't think it's in the best interest of our community. And preschool is definitely very important. We all agree with that. Everybody that's here, I'm sure, agrees with that. But I, again, feel that you're rushing into this. It's one big building. You're going to be busing all these children, and it's a lot. It's a lot. I think we should backstep a little bit and really review it further until you know all the facts, which I don't think you do. And I know the last meeting I went to at Grace, Mr. Rocco, a lot of the answers that you gave were proposed. And I understand. You don't have, I respect that. But that's another reason why I feel that rushing into this is not the best thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stanzione. So that was the last speaker for hearing of the public. So I'm going to move on to other business. So do I have any board members that will have anything under other business? I will start with, I forgot who I left off. Dr. McSheene.
Excuse me.
If anything under other business.
We need to come back to him. Oh, no.
Dr. McSheene.
So first,
I'm gonna come back to you.
I forgot to mention how sad I was to have to be out of town for work the day of the tech night. It is the first one I've missed in years. I did not mention to my kids that we were missing it. So hopefully no one tells them that they missed it.
Tonight, I'm calling them.
Hopefully they're not up late watching this right now. But I hope it went extremely well. I heard amazing things, so thanks to everyone involved in that, because I know it's a lot of work every year, and every year it sounds like it's getting bigger and better, so I really appreciate that. I also want to draw the board's attention to the NJSBA school board notes. The latest issue came out, I believe, yesterday. It's a good resource for just hot button topics and things that are going on, obviously in the state, in education, and around the country, and ideas on how school boards can approach them or discuss them. So one of the articles that was in school board notes was a model or an announcement of a model policy on using artificial intelligence in schools, which is really interesting. And then there was one other I wanted to call out. I think it's also important and nice to go through the recent decisions on the school ethics. It's helpful for us as a board to be aware of these items, and the way they lay them out is pretty useful. So just want to highlight that for all of you. And, you know, you should be getting emails on this, as well as the, is it monthly or is it quarterly, the issue that comes mailed to us? I think it might be quarterly.
Yeah, it's not monthly.
It's not monthly.
Yeah, it comes periodically.
Yeah, but definitely take a look at that when you have the time, and I think it's incredibly useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McSheene. Dr. Ferrara, anything under other business?
I was going to talk about this book I'm reading called The Anxious Generation. Dr. Rocco's reading it, but I will save that for next month.
Thank you, Dr. Ferrara. Ms. Stanton?
I also just wanted to say my praises about Tech Night. It was fantastic. I know Ms. Harvey had mentioned that her daughter and my son were there. We're not going to let Dr. McSheen's children know that they missed it. But my son, who's a third grader here in the district, of course, and is a self-professed scientist, was thrilled with the offerings, between the drone things, between the fact that he thinks that he was taught how to drive a vehicle now. So he's ready for highway driving at this point. With the simulators, some of the flying simulators, it was fantastic to just see that these things were offered to all of our community that evening, but also to know that those are the things being taught in our schools. And that was really also exciting for him, because when he realized that these are things that he can do every day once he gets to middle school and high school, well, he's motivated. So I do want to, again, thank everyone for that. And I went to drive the point home that my bringing up the pros and the importance of early childhood education is as someone who worked in early childhood education for the first half of my career. And B is as a board member that was responding to some of the emails, one of which was saying that preschool is babysitting. So I felt it was important for the community to understand the statistics and the facts around early childhood education. And I, again, do have to say that in the beginning, I was a little bit nervous myself about a second floor for a preschool. I was able to go to New Brunswick and view a very similar addition that was also used state grant money. And my main reason for being nervous about that is because I've done it myself, and I do know the work that it takes to bring 3- and 4-year-olds downstairs. When I first started my career, it was at one of the most prestigious schools in North Carolina, which was a 2-story building. But something that Ms. Aldino reminded me of, something that the director in New Brunswick reminded me of, is that this is another opportunity for children to learn another skill. Because not every child lives in a house that has multiple floors, but they're going to need to learn how to use stairs. So that actually becomes part of the curriculum, is learning how to do these things that they need for if they're, then going to elementary schools, many of which have second floors. If they're going to be at shopping malls, if they're going to apartment complexes, we know that they're going to need to learn how to do stairs anyway. And this gives us a safe and controlled environment with brand new state-regulated stairs to do so. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Stanton.
Ms. Thornton, can I just dovetail on the stairs? To Ms. Stanton's point, if you go into Greenwood School, the door, a flight of stairs greet you at the door, and you have, and Layla too, and you have to go up the stairs to get to the kindergarten room. So that's an excellent point that you make, and I too talked to Ms. Audino, who explained that this is just part of learning, which is, I get it. Back in the day, parents taught their kids how to do that. We're not back in the day. It's not 1955, it's 2025, and we have to adapt. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Dr. Farr. Ms. Stanton, is there anything else that you had?
No, I will save that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stanton. Ms. Harvey? Ms. Williams?
I have nothing.
Ms. Byrne? Mr. Kanka?
Sorry, guys. I could just say that I've lived in Hamilton Township my whole life. I attended the schools here, and back in the early 60s, maybe 63 or 64, I can't remember, 2 schools were built, and that was this school and Grice. And a few years later, we had Steiner that was constructed, I believe it was in 67 or so. And then we took a hiatus for about 15 years, and Crockett was built. But 42 years later, we've had nothing built in this township. We got buildings that have exceeded well over 100 years old. We've torn boilers out that were 50, 60 years old. We've put multiple roofs on because back in the 80s and the 90s, the big thing was we're not going to raise taxes, but when they didn't raise taxes, they didn't fix any of the buildings that we had at that time that may have been 50 or 60 years old. So in the past 10 or 12 years, we've had an aggressive agenda of addressing multiple things in this district, such as roofs, infrastructure within the existing buildings in this township. And we have an opportunity now to move a little bit forward after we've been sitting around for 42 years. So I just want to reiterate that it's a big step. It's a cautious step that we're taking. Everybody's looking at every single thing that's going on. People say that we're rushing into things. I don't believe that we are. If there's something that's going to keep us from moving forward, there's a bunch of intelligent people up here that will make that decision. So it's a program that's has a time stamp on it, and we're going to move into that direction. And hopefully it'll, and I know for a fact it will. It'll help out our younger future students in this district. We've had multiple people come up over the years that I've been on this board complaining about test scores, which has already been brought up. And you can't improve scores if you don't educate children. So that's the purpose of this, to get the early kids going into an environment that they will be used to when it comes to getting into the tougher things in their curriculum, such, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. So I just wanted to say, I think it's a good thing. There's people that are going to be against some things that we do, and I understand that. I also understand some of the emails I received, and I thank you for those emails, and I also thank all the people that came here tonight with their opinions on what we should be doing. But we're moving forward with the blessing of the help that we're getting from the county, and I think it's a good thing. So, and I also want to thank Mrs. Harvey for her comments about why we're doing this and what lane of traffic we're in at this time. So it was a good analogy you put out there. We're right now we're not in the fast lane, like she said. So when we get to that point, you'll all know. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody for coming out.
Thank you, Mr. King.
May I make a comment?
Yes, Ms. Harvey.
I just want to let everyone know that for the last 5 years, I've sat with Mr. Kanka on the Finance Committee that he's the chair of. And if you can tell just from his monthly reports, the amount of passion and detail that he puts into understanding our buildings and making sure that we are doing the right steps. I have full confidence that we are methodically going through this process, and I want to assure the community that we are taking our time to analyze these things. And we do thank the public for bringing things to our attention, because I personally know that Mr. Kanka reviews all of that with his expertise that he's had for decades of experience in building and understanding how buildings are built and operate in construction. So,
thank you, Ms. Harvey. So
Did you pay for that endorsement, Mr. Kanka?
It was a stipend.
So seeing that I have no other comments from the board under other business, do I have a motion to
Motion
adjourn?
raised.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.